Hi guys, I'm back again with some more stories for you today. Let's go to the first one, about OP's daughter, who had an affair with her sister's boyfriend, and what OP did after she found out. Listen to the story to find out all the details, and of course to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories, guys, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. My daughter, 16 female, just recently cheated with her sister's 17 female boyfriend, 17 male. To say this was a shock was an understatement. My oldest was completely heartbroken and shattered that her sister did that to her. Not to mention, she was also really heartbroken by the boyfriend. My youngest, on the other hand, is now saying that they're dating and that it couldn't be helped. They fell for each other, and her sister should try to be understanding. I was stunned that she had the audacity to say such a thing and sent her up to her room while I tried to console my 17-year-old. My 17-year-old can't stand to be in the same house as her sister, and I decided the best thing for now is to give their relationship some space. My girls have two different dads, so I told my 16-year-old's dad what was going on, and he understood and agreed to take her. My mom, however, has been giving me a lot of crap for what happened. She says that this is not the way to handle the situation, and I'm going to make my daughter think I don't love her as much as her sister. She says that since I'm the adult, I shouldn't be choosing sides and shouldn't have kicked her out, especially because she didn't want to go. I'm feeling a bit conflicted about this. On the one hand, I have siblings myself and could never imagine doing this to one of them. Not only that, but if they did that to me, I would never forgive them. And if this were someone else like a friend, I would tell them to never let their sister back in their life because clearly she has no respect or value for them and was willing to throw away that relationship for something that may not last. On the other hand, she's my daughter, and I don't want her to ever think that I don't love her or prefer her sister. I also want my kids to have a good relationship with each other, but I can't pretend I like the person she's become to do this to her sister. I'm trying not to let the anger of her actions cloud my judgment, but I've never been angrier at one of my kids. I know she's a teenager and teenagers do dumb things, but I would never have done this, even at that age. Plus, what kind of signal would it send to my 17-year-old if I just overlooked what her sister did to her? I've asked family and friends for their opinions, but while some agreed with me, others disagreed, and I just don't know what's right. I just feel so conflicted. To clear some things up, my youngest is not staying with her dad permanently. 3 weeks at most if my daughters don't want to try to talk before then. My other daughter's father lives a couple of hours away, so no, she can't stay with him. My 16-year-old's father and I have come up with a plan for him to try to get her to see reason while she's at his house. And when she comes back, I'll offer both of my daughters family therapy. My oldest is already in therapy because she has depression, but my youngest isn't, and I think it might benefit them to talk things through with a therapist. Her father might also get her to a separate therapist if that's something she's open to. I'm not using sending my 16-year-old to her dad's as a punishment, but rather as space to give them both time to think things through, like the option of therapy and how they want to handle this situation. Update. So her father and I talked with my 17-year-old's therapist today, and she recommended that it might be best to have my 17-year-old stay with her father when my 16-year-old gets back. My 17-year-old agreed she would like to try this option. Obviously, I want my girls to repair their relationship, but if this is what's best for my 17-year-old's mental health, then I'm not going to stop her from moving out or pressure her to rekindle the relationship with her sister. I do plan to take her out and do something nice before she leaves. Parents are there to teach lessons when you misbehave. OP's younger daughter betrayed her older daughter. She deliberately took actions that she knew would hurt her sister. Those actions deserve consequences. It's not like OP threw her out on the street. OP sent her to a safe place. She sent her to her father's home. At this moment, OP's older daughter needs her. She needs to know that OP recognized that what her sister did to her was wrong, and that she was hurt by it. OP's older daughter needs to know that OP stands by her. On the other hand, OP's younger daughter, who apparently has no remorse for her actions, needs to know that OP does not support what she has done. OP's younger daughter needs to grow up and recognize that what she did was wrong and that she needs to make amends. And now let's hear if the community agrees with me. D-Bell Hogwarts says, I fully thought from the title that you'd kicked her out to live on the streets. But sending her to her dad's while you console your other daughter is a sensible thing to do. I'm saying not the a-hole for separating your daughters whilst emotions are still high and giving them both a break from each other. It depends how you follow this up though. They both need to rebuild that relationship, and you can be a crucial part of that process. I have no advice on the 16-year-old and the boyfriend though. Creative Air Quote says, not the a-hole. There are times when not choosing sides is choosing a side. By staying neutral, all you do is tactfully acknowledge that the hurtful actions of one party are equally valid to the hurt feelings of the other. And unless there are some problematic issues not included in your post, having your daughter stay with her father doesn't seem like a harmful punishment. It's simply giving your two daughters the space they need from each other. Isolated Reader 62 says, "This is a super tough one. I would say not the a-hole, but sit down with your 16-year-old and explain you believe in an effort to save their relationship. You're helping them have space from each other. Reassure her you still love her, and you're not picking sides, but that you're trying to help them resolve the situation." As part of our divorce agreement, my ex was supposed to have a $1 million life insurance policy with our daughter listed as the beneficiary. He was not supposed to make any changes to this policy without my approval. He passed away last year, and I found out that he added his other two kids to the policy without even asking me. He didn't even raise the amount of the policy. So it would have meant that our daughter would have gotten 1/3 of the money instead of all of it that she was supposed to get. I immediately went to a lawyer to see what could be done. He was able to get the court to stop the insurance company from paying out until this was dealt with. It's now been officially settled, all the money put into a trust for my daughter. It's caused a bit of tension with my ex's wife, Emma, the other kid's mother, to say the least. I still see her every so often when dropping off or picking up my daughter at my ex-in-laws. They're all very nice people, and fortunately have been there as a buffer, so all three kids can still have a relationship with each other without Emma and I having to be too involved. However, there are still times when I drop off or pick up my daughter when I run into Emma. Every single time I do, she brings up how broke she is. Yesterday, I bumped into her again after we dropped the kids off. I admit it wasn't my finest moment, but as I was heading to my car, she brought up being broke again, and I rolled my eyes. That set her off, and she brought up the life insurance policy again, and how much of a bee I was to take that money away from her kids. That they should have gotten an equal share. That isn't what their father wanted. That they got left with nothing because of me. Thankfully, all the kids were inside while this happened. I decided to just leave and not engage her, but it's still bothering me. Edit. I know a lot of people are wanting me to give some of the money to her siblings, but I'm not in control of my daughter's trust and cannot move the money around. I can only ask for certain expenses for my daughter to be paid for directly from the trust with the approval of the trustee. I mean, it sucks, but the fact is that OP's ex-husband didn't set up his estate correctly or legally, and it sure looks like he tried to skirt around the rules to look good. So I don't think OP is in the wrong here, as it was part of a divorce settlement. OP's ex should have gotten another life insurance policy for his stepkids, other kids. And now let's hear the community's opinion. Mistress Fuzzy Legs says, "The a-hole here is the ex who failed to get a policy for his additional children." Alarmed Bechamel says, "Not the a-hole. Both parties would have agreed to a fair settlement. The ex changed the divorce agreement behind OP's back and to the detriment of their child. We readers have no idea of the other circumstances, but it is clear that the ex left their current wife in a pickle. This is not OP's fault. Only a-hole is the ex." Patula Faree III says, "Not the a-hole. It's not your fault your ex decided to go against his divorce agreement instead of actually setting something up for his other two children and new wife. His actions aren't on you. You went via a legal route to get what was owed to your child. Legally, you're in the right, and ethically, in my opinion, the mistake is his." So, my fiancé and I have been together for 2.5 years, and we got engaged 2 months ago. She's absolutely amazing, and I don't want to spend a minute away from her. She's everything that I've wanted and needed. She comes from a middle-class family, and both my parents come from wealthy families, and we've had a comfortable life growing up. I've spent the last 12 years after junior college to become a doctor, like my parents. And of course, my parents have quite a bit of money and property, which my younger sister and I will inherit. My mother brought up the prenup first, and I thought it was fine, and would talk to my fiancé first. But we had lunch 3 weeks ago at my parents' house, and while we were relaxing in the den, my family lawyer walks in and pretty much hands over the papers to my father, and they start talking to her. I stop my father and tell him that I need to talk to her by myself, and this is not the right time or the way to do this. My mother starts acting passive-aggressive, and it turns into an argument. My sweet fiancé interrupts us and says she'll sign it. She also thinks with how society is currently, my parents are just watching out for me, and I was always going to ask her to sign one eventually. Yes, I was, but not this way. She's never shown interest in my money. She doesn't make as much as I do, but she's good at her job and enjoys it. When I gift her something expensive, which is usually on her birthdays, I've seen her act like it's some sort of burden almost. I got her a designer bag which she still kept in the box at the back of the closet. She only wears the jewelry when it's a special occasion. When it's simple stuff, I think she's a bit more overjoyed. She puts in a lot of work for my gifts, and all of them are so thoughtful. I really love her. But ever since we came back from my parents' place, she's been quiet. I have apologized continuously, but she says there's nothing to apologize for. There's still breakfast and packed lunch for me in the morning. I come home to a hot meal, and she's usually up waiting since I get back pretty late. When we're in bed, I tell her about my day just to have a conversation with her, and if I tell her I was standing 6 hours during a surgery, she'll immediately start massaging my feet. I can't see that beautiful glow on her face anymore. I thought it was best if we had a talk last night, so I told her not to cook. I'd leave work early, get takeout, and come home. When we were eating, I started apologizing again for how things came about, how my parents were wrong to do so, and that I've been speaking to my mom and how I think she should apologize to her. She starts tearing up and asks me if she's ever made me feel like she's wanted me only for my money. I tell her absolutely not. I know she loves me with the way she cares and treats me. I told her nothing would happen to us. We're meant for each other. I'm nothing without her, and the prenup is just a piece of paper. She still looked sad and asked if we could have a long engagement. We were to get married in February of 24, but she wants to push for another year or a year and a half. I want to marry her right now and don't know what to do to make things better. Kilani Mumu says, OP, logically you and your parents are protecting money, assets, but you literally broke your fiancé's spirit. You need to set boundaries for your parents and their treatment of your fiancé. You also need to make sure you are defending her from their passive-aggressive comments. She's taking care of you, but are you taking care of her? Would it be terrible for her to have a safety net after you're married? You're going to have a prenup, but can she afford her own lawyer to make sure she is protected in the prenup? Just some thoughts. Enlightened Gardener says, just so you know, from a legal perspective, that prenup probably isn't worth the paper it's written on. For it to stand up in court, she will have had to have consulted a lawyer on her own. She could easily show that she had been coerced into signing it. If you love her, and it sounds like you do, rip it up and start a new one, and make sure that she gets to see a lawyer of her own to go over it from her perspective. Westmoreland says, this isn't about the prenup. This is about your parents massively overstepping, and you not doing enough to protect her from their insanity. The prenup they forced her to sign is going to be invalid, and you should speak to your own lawyer about making sure you have a document acknowledging that this is not a valid prenup. Then you need to tell your parents to butt out of your life, and that you will be taking a break for a while until your future wife feels comfortable. My ex is getting married and has spoken to my children about changing their surnames to match her new surname. This conversation was had without my prior knowledge and, in my experience, coercive. Since our separation, we were not married. She's had several boyfriends, most of which have been introduced to our children. Our original agreement on separation is that we would notify each other upon any major changes to our kids' lives, new partners, living arrangements, etc. This worked well for the first time she had a new partner, but has not been followed up since. In fact, she moved in her husband, not husband at the time obviously, without telling me, and the kids felt guilty that they had not mentioned it when I found out. I did not tell my kids off for this. I just laughed it off and said that it was nice to not make them feel awkward. Brief introduction to the new husband. I know absolutely nothing about him. I've tried to engage him in conversation on many occasions. He just stuck to one-word answers and eager to get away from me as soon as possible. I didn't even know his surname until my ex approached me to add it to the kids' surnames via a double barrel. I was speechless, didn't give an immediate answer. She continued to tell me the kids are all for it. Rather than have an argument, I said I would think about it. I have absolutely no intention of letting my kids change their surnames to add his. 1. I believe the kids have been manipulated into thinking it's a great idea. I used to be manipulated during our relationship, and she still does to a point now, but I'm more aware of it. 2. If she splits up with her husband, she has a history. My kids will be stuck with a stupid surname. 3. I'm not a fan of hyphenated surnames. Double barrel. 3-1. Also, the names are not unique. Quick background about myself. Since my separation, I've had joint custody of our children and have been in a relationship with my now wife nearly 7 years. My children have known her most of their lives, and they think the world of her. She has a good relationship with my ex, too. Despite having joint custody, I pay child support, and I'm suckered into paying more on various occasions, ploys of which I won't get into here. Am I the a-hole? Zealif Prent says, Absolutely not. No. I am not a lawyer. This is not legal advice, but I feel like this is something I would consult a real lawyer about. If she is manipulating your kids into thinking that changing their names, a part of their identity, who they are, is a good idea, what other strings is she pulling behind the stages? Is other types of parental alienation at play? Not the a-hole. Alma Lauha says, not the a-hole. I don't care if the kids want this. I assume they are little and they don't get a say in this at this point. I agree this is ridiculous. Your ex has a new husband, so it's fair enough she's changing her last name, in this case by adding his. But it's not reasonable to change the children's last name just because she has a new partner. These kids are yours. This husband is not the father. And giving these kids his last name makes zero sense at all. Is he adopting them? Probably not, because you are their father, and you're not dead or AWOL. I would get some legal advice to help write some official letter to get your ex to drop this right now and to never bring it up again. I'd also get some help with these ploys, where you've been manipulated into paying more than your fair share. Keep a record of all her BS, any interactions with you, stuff the kids tell you about her, this new guy, where you feel something doesn't add up, is off. Just talk to your lawyer, but I wouldn't budge on this. Your kids are yours and your ex's, and they have nothing to do with the new husband, who might be just a temporary visitor in your children's lives.